One thing that I really hate are entitled people. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that I hate the people, but the entitlement that some people have bothers me to no end. I can only imagine what it would have been like to grow up in biblical culture where the firstborn son, I'm a firstborn son, even though I have two older sisters. The firstborn son knew, just because of where they were born in the order of children, that they would inherit all of the family possessions and the family business. Man, the entitlement must have been crazy. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I didn't live then. But you see a little bit of this in the biblical story. It comes up with the Israelites who see their position with God as something that they inherit because of their genealogy. And there's a bit of entitlement. We have the truth. We often see this with people in churches as well. Well, I grew up in the church, or I accepted Jesus, and so I'm entitled to him, and I'll keep him all to myself. And the firstborns are an important theme in Scripture. It's referred to many times. But there's something interesting that happens with the promise that God gives Israel and the story that the Bible tells. Sometimes, a lot of times, the firstborn is passed by. What do you mean? Well, let me give you a pattern. Number one, the first people that were born onto this earth. Cain was born first, and then Abel. Abel was the one who demonstrated positivity of character, and he was the one chosen by God, and his sacrifice was accepted, the second-born. Oh, well, it doesn't stop there. Abraham himself was a second-born child, the one chosen by God to bless all of the nations through his lineage, the one through who the Messiah would come. Abraham was a second-born. Isaac, Abraham's son, even called in the narrative his only son, is not in fact his only son. Isaac is the second-born son to Abraham. His older brother was Ishmael. Isaac's son, Jacob. Jacob was the second son. Esau was his older brother, but Esau was passed by, and Jacob was chosen to be the promised son. And we have a very interesting story in this lineage that shows up at the end of Genesis with some of Jacob's sons. One of Jacob's sons, Joseph, who was exiled or sent into slavery in Egypt and became a powerful figure, he meets together with his father Jacob at the end of Jacob's life, and he brings forth his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, his older brother, Joseph's firstborn. And he places them one on each side of Jacob, and he expects Jacob to place his hands on them and give them a blessing. And Jacob does this, but he places one hand, his right hand, across to the one that's on the left, and his left hand on the other one. He crosses up his hands, and he begins to pronounce a blessing, the promised blessing, on Ephraim, the second-born son. And Joseph says, no, stop. You've got it wrong. That's the wrong son. Manasseh's the oldest one. And Jacob, who's blind, who can't see, just, I imagine, chuckles to himself and says to Joseph, I know what I'm doing. I know Manasseh, he will become a great nation, he will. But Ephraim will be greater than him, the second-born son. How interesting, this passage of second-borns. And it doesn't stop there. Jesus, when he comes, is described in Romans chapter 5 as the second Adam. Jesus himself is the second-born human Son of God. And he is the one who is going to be the fulfillment of this story of second-borns. What we learn from this story is that God chooses people not because of their inheritance or because of the order of their birth, but because he wants to choose them. And God shows mercy not out of obligation or out of cultural norms, not out of genetic inheritance, but because he's a merciful God and because he wants to show mercy. So if you ever feel like you're outside of the fold, know that that is one of the stories the Bible is telling. That no matter who you are, you have the opportunity to be invited into the family of God, which culminates in Jesus Christ.